This insane video takes place in Jacksonville, Florida. This footage showcases the alarming incident where Officer E. Meckling of the Jacksonville Sheriff's Department was attacked with a kitchen knife while attending to a disturbance in the 1300 block of Gulf Fair Boulevard. This all happened just a day before Easter. Police later reported that the disruption started when the suspect had an argument between her and a roommate over medication. Despite Baker dropping the knife in response to Officer Meckling's command, she refused to comply with the order to lie down and instead made a sudden move towards the knife. In response, Meckling discharged several rounds in an attempt to stop her, yet Baker persisted in her actions. Sergeant Nobles, who happened to be nearby, also fired multiple shots at Baker. Despite repeated police directives, over several minutes, Baker continued to disregard their orders and even engaged in physical altercations with the police canine that was deployed to help restrain her. The canine owner urgently shouted, "Let go of my dog," while another officer instructed, "Somebody tase her." Eventually, law enforcement managed to handcuff her and place her in an ambulance. Sure enough, Baker was later declared dead at a hospital. This one is not for the faint of heart. Louisville, Kentucky, August 16th, 2023, around 7 p.m. Police from the 2nd Division of the LMPD arrived at the 1700 block of Bowling Avenue in response to reports from concerned neighbors who had contacted the police due to a woman's cries for help. Upon reaching the residence, law enforcement observed the agitated woman urgently signaling for help from a second-story window that had been shattered. The two officers were observed attempting to gain access through the front entrance, but discovered it was secured and barricaded. While checking out the rear side of the house, they promptly discovered that all the ground-level doors and windows were similarly secured. Subsequently, the officers located a ladder and ascended it to reach the woman from the outside. Upon gaining entry to the house, law enforcement discovered the woman restrained to the floor. A metal chain was tightly wound around her neck and secured with a padlock. Emergency medical services and the Louisville Fire Department were dispatched to the house to provide medical assistance to the woman and to safely remove the padlock still fastened around her neck. Authorities reported that 2 days subsequent to the woman's rescue, Moises May, aged 36, was arrested. May is now facing a range of charges, which include kidnapping, domestic violence assault, intimidation of a legal process participant, making terroristic threats, and engaging in physical harassment. He was held in custody under a $100,000 cash bond and was scheduled to appear in court on August 28th. According to the LMPD, the victim recounted that May seized her and restrained her on the bathroom floor, wielding a machete to forcibly cut off substantial portions of her hair. Following this, she was subjected to physical assault before eventually managing to exit the residence. On August 16th, the woman returned to the house to retrieve some of her personal items. Nonetheless, as stated before, May secured the doors with an exclusive deadbolt, for which only he possessed the key to, efficiently preventing her from leaving. May escorted the woman upstairs and encircled her neck with a substantial metal chain typically intended for dogs. He then fastened her to a steel hook affixed to the floor. Allegedly, May threatened to take her life. The woman recounted that he also confiscated her phone, rendering her unable to seek assistance. According to excerpts from his arrest citation, by leaving the victim confined within the house, bound and unable to contact help, May displayed a severe disregard for the sanctity of human life. She managed to forcefully shatter a second-story window and call out for help, which ultimately resulted in her rescue. Authorities noted that the woman bore marks on her skin from the chain and sustained scratches while breaking the window. A Florida police officer's body camera recorded an incident on a random Sunday in 2018 where a man was forcefully ejected 30 feet from a bridge into a river. The Daytona Beach Police Department released a video in which an officer, while driving on the Main Street Bridge in Daytona Beach, observes a man identified as Derek Gooden by the police, tossing another individual into the Halifax River. When the officer exits the vehicle, he instructs Gooden to lie down. The officer can be heard repeatedly yelling at Gooden to assume a prone position before he finally complies and is then placed in handcuffs. Gooden maintains that the victim assaulted his property and expressed feeling threatened. He informed the officer that the victim had leaped off the bridge. Gooden and the male victim, identified as Anthony Mascaro, engaged in a fistfight according to police. Gooden threw Mascaro face first off the bridge, police said. Mascaro found himself in a situation where he was protecting a woman named Stephanie Ellis, who encountered Gooden before the altercation, according to law enforcement. As outlined in the arrest report, Ellis informed the police that she had engaged in a dispute with Gooden concerning a previous financial transaction, during which he physically assaulted her by striking her in the face. Mascaro, upon witnessing this, attempted to intervene, which then led to a physical confrontation. When questioned by the police, Mascaro recounted that he swam to a support column and was later rescued by another individual in a rowboat. The police noted that he had a laceration beneath his right eye, but he declined medical assistance. The New Orleans Police Department released bodycam footage of a raid and shootout at an apartment complex in East New Orleans that left an officer injured on April 21, 2020. A seasoned NOPD officer sustained a gunshot wound to the right arm during an exchange of gunfire and was promptly transported to the hospital. 4 officers took part in the arrest of the suspect, police said. In connection with the shooting, authorities arrested 28-year-old Horace Toppins. The NOPD stated that officers were en route to an apartment complex to execute an arrest warrant for aggravated assault against Toppins. Upon entering the residence, Toppins emerged and began firing at the officers, as reported by the NOPD. An exchange of gunfire occurred between one officer and Toppins, resulting in the officer sustaining a non-life-threatening gunshot wound to the arm. A deputy's first-person perspective during a dangerous fentanyl exposure was captured by his body camera, along with a Narcan rescue by a fellow deputy that likely saved his life. Although wearing protective gear, Huser quickly experienced dizziness and requested Deputy First Class Kyle Gaddy, who was present at the traffic stop, to summon paramedics. Huser's body camera recorded the entire incident, offering a chilling first-hand account of his life-threatening event. Huser told Gaddy that he experienced profound lightheadedness, tremors, and a loss of sensation in his arms and legs. Aware of the potential presence of fentanyl in the narcotics Huser had been handling, Gaddy promptly administered a preventive Narcan dose. When Huser's condition did not improve after a few minutes, Gaddy administered a second Narcan dose. Flagler County Fire Rescue transported Huser to Advent Health Palm Coast, where he received treatment in the emergency room and was later discharged. According to the county sheriff's office, the incident originated when multiple individuals dialed 911 to report an erratic driver who had fled the scene of a hit-and-run in Bunnell City. The driver then proceeded to drive recklessly on State Road 11, with callers describing instances of the driver veering off the road and nearly causing several additional accidents. Eventually, the driver voluntarily came to a stop, and onlookers stayed with the driver until law enforcement arrived at the scene. The driver, later identified as 61-year-old George Clemens from Crescent City, was discovered seated in the driver's position with the car keys concealed beneath his leg, as reported by deputies. Additionally, deputies observed narcotics in an empty Bud Light can and a small shooter of alcohol, clearly visible inside the vehicle. Clemens declined to participate in field sobriety tests and was subsequently charged with DUI. Ultimately, Clemens faced multiple charges, including possession of fentanyl, possession of cocaine, possession of less than 20 grams of marijuana, possession of Suboxone, and possession of drug paraphernalia. Crews from the Austin Fire Department and Austin Police Department swiftly arrived at the scene of a car on fire in the 1000 block of West Stassany Lane on Monday afternoon, May 24, 2021. It was said initial accounts described a vehicle fully engulfed in fire, with an individual still trapped inside. Thanks to the rapid actions of the officers, they successfully rescued a man's life, just moments before the vehicle eventually burst into flames. Police said they received multiple calls about an unconscious man inside the burning truck, with his foot on the gas pedal. When both officers arrived within 2 minutes of being assigned the call, they found the truck fully engulfed in flames, with the man still inside. Upon failing to establish communication with the man, they proceeded to shatter their window and get him to safety, where ATC EMS provided immediate medical attention. Shortly thereafter, the truck erupted in an explosion. Assistant Police Chief Robin Henderson commended Officers Panetta and Carrera for their courageous deeds by presenting them with the Chief's coin of recognition.